So I've heard this time and time again. Norwegian is one of the easiest languages to learn. I even saw this on an Italian quiz show a couple of days ago. According to American experts, one of these languages is among the easiest because it can be learned in just 24 weeks. And the correct answer was Norwegian. And while I've had students who have learned Norwegian in no time, I have had others who struggled a lot. Because Norwegian has its own pitfalls, like every language does. And I want to go through some of those in this video. I actually have quite a lot to say about this, so let's see how long this video gets in the end. Hi there, my name is Nadine. I have been studying Norwegian for more than 20 years now. I have been living in Norway for more than 19 years and I have been teaching both German and Norwegian for more than 10 years, both to beginners, to intermediate students, to advanced students, to professionals, also to people who thought that would be easy to learn Norwegian, but they soon found out that it wasn't that easy after all. So here's my take on this language that I have been speaking for such a long time that it almost feels like a mother tongue to me. So first things first, yes, grammatically speaking, Norwegian is not very complex. You don't have a lot of verb conjugations. That is none at all. It's just one. You have like I am, you are, he, she, it is. It's like jeg du han hun It's always the same word, right? So it's even less conjugation than in English. And also you don't have a lot of the case system left. It's approximately, I would say, like English, you have he and him, and that you also have in Norwegian, for example. But you don't have to bother with like accusative, genitive case, dative case, and all of those. So that is true. Grammatically speaking, it's quite an easy language to learn. And if you are a speaker of a other Germanic language, it will also be quite easy for you because there are a lot of similar words. But here begins the trouble, right? What if you are not a speaker of a Germanic language? Then all those advantages, they won't apply to you. You still can't recognize the words, even though you might be able to recognize some of the words. And also things like word order, like we have the SVO word order in Norwegian, subject, verb, object, which is quite common in Germanic languages. If you're not a speaker of a Germanic language, that doesn't apply to you. You still have to learn it from scratch. So to non-Germanic speakers, it might not be super easy to learn Norwegian. But again, grammatically speaking, not that complicated of a language. So to compensate for the missing case system and the missing complexity, Norwegian uses a lot of prepositions. And you never know which preposition to use. So the prepositions are one of the, I would say, most difficult things to learn when you are learning Norwegian, because you just have to get used to the right preposition. Like, for example, in Norwegian, you don't sit on a sofa, on a couch, you sit in a couch. Jeg sitter I sofaen. You are not on the stairs, you are in the stairs. Jeg I trappa. It's really weird. Right? And then you also not in the library, but you are on the library. Jeg på biblioteket. And those are things you just have to learn. It's not that easy. Then there is another topic that is quite challenging for Norwegian, and that is pronunciation of different reasons. The first reason is there are, for example, 9 different vowels, And those can be either long or short. So you have 18 distinct vowels you have to learn. Like, I know some languages don't distinguish between short and long vowels, so that is a complexity they have to get used to, because it's changing the meaning of a word, right? If it can be the same word with a long or short vowel, and if you are not used to that from your mother tongue, that is really challenging. Also, there are a lot of vowels that are quite close to each other. You have, for example, the I, U, Ö. Right? If you're not used to those, it's quite difficult, and it changes the meaning as well. Like, for example, I know I once knew this French woman, and she said one time, skal ikke vi ha noen lus på bordet? Lus, that means lice. What she meant was lys, which means candles. So she said, literally, aren't we going to have some lice on the table? Like for decoration. And like, no, we don't want lice on the table. We want candles. Lys. Lys, lys. Lys, lys. Right? It's challenging. You have to differentiate. So yeah, that is very easy indeed. And regarding pronunciation, the second difficulty are the dialects. There are a ton of dialects in Norway. Like, for a country with 5.6 million people, there are a lot of dialects. And I would argue actually that, for example, the Oslo dialect is much closer to Swedish phonetically speaking. They are closer to each other than the Western dialect, the one I'm speaking, to the Oslo dialect. So within Norway, you have a huge range of dialect, and guess what? There is no oral standard. Don't let people tell you, yes, the Oslo dialect, that is the standard bokmål variety. It's not true, because everyone is speaking dialect. No one is speaking bokmål. No one is speaking nynorsk. Yeah, there are also two written languages. We will get to that in a minute, right? Because everyone is speaking dialect all the time. The bokmål variety, the one most students start out with, is a written language. So it's really challenging, because when you come to Norway, it depends where you're going, right? Because a lot of materials are recorded with, like, the Oslo dialect, for example. But it's changing. It's changed a lot in the last years also, just to make students aware of the dialects. They are a huge part of learning Norwegian. You have to learn all the dialects. You have to, not to speak, but you have to understand them. Because when you live in Norway, when you work in Norway, you will always encounter people from all over Norway, and they speak dialect. They don't change. Everyone is speaking dialect. Like on TV, politicians speak dialect. On the radio, they won't change the dialect like we, for example, do in Germany. These words I'm showing you on the screen now, they all mean the same thing. They mean I. Like jeg, 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 I, and probably a lot of varieties I haven't mentioned. And also another word which has a lot of varieties is the you plural. You plural is, the bokmål variety is dere, right? Dere. Then you also have dokker, dår, dykke, døkk, dokk, dykk, dø, dår. There are hundreds. No, that was too much. There are a lot of different varieties. And if you suddenly hear the word dokker, right, it means dere. It's a completely different word. How would you know if you haven't listened to it? So it's really important to take into consideration all the different dialects. So listening comprehension for Norwegian is very important. Get fluent in listening comprehension and make sure to seek out different varieties of Norwegian. So I mentioned before, Norway has 2 written languages, 5.6 million people, and they have to learn 2 different languages at school. So from a Norwegian point of view, that's how they learn Norwegian. First, as babies and toddlers, they start out with dialect because they are picking up the dialects from their surroundings, parents, friends. So they are starting out with dialect. Then at school, they start to learn with one of the 2 languages, either bokmål or nynorsk. Most of them are starting with bokmål, and that is their hovedmål. It's their main language. Later on, in 8th grade, they have to add the second language. That is either nynorsk or bokmål, and it's called their sidemål. It's called side language. Okay, so every Norwegian is actually trilingual, and I find that so impressive. They speak and write actually 3 languages: dialect, nynorsk, bokmål. So yeah, they are quite used to different varieties of their language. And also for you as a student, you will encounter both bokmål and nynorsk and even dialect. Like on Facebook, in groups or text messages, people very often write in dialect. That can be really challenging. I had some comments once in a Facebook group. Please don't write dialect. I'm not Norwegian, right? I can't understand. It's already difficult. So you have to get used to encountering texts, especially in dialect, bokmål, and Norwegian. And while most learners start out with bokmål, once you master bokmål, you will be able to understand nynorsk. That is not a problem. But still, if you open a website and suddenly it's in nynorsk and half of the words you don't understand, I would call an easy language for something else, right? So beware, it's a little bit more complicated than just learning Norwegian in 22 weeks. So the last point adds to the complexity, because you have kind of shy people in Norway that are really, really good at speaking English. So it's a killer combination, because first, it's not that easy to make contact, and then you make contact with a Norwegian, they usually switch over to English quite quickly because they are so good at it and it's so much easier. And that is not to prevent you from practicing Norwegian, it's just because Norwegians are very kind, they want to help, and easing your communication, that is helpful. So what I found is, if you really want to practice Norwegian in a real life setting, not only at, for example, a language cafe where people are very patient because that's the setting around, right? We are here to practice Norwegian. If you want to practice Norwegian in a real life setting, you have to get better at Norwegian than the Norwegians are at speaking English. Otherwise, it will be difficult. So you'd better go do some studying, I would suggest. And it's normal, right? Because when we are communicating, we don't usually meet language teachers. We meet normal people who are not teachers. And we always fall back onto the language that both people in the conversation know best. That's the path of least resistance. It's natural to fall back into the language that both people know best. So you have to put in a lot of effort. Okay, so let's recap how easy Norwegian is. You have a grammatically speaking fairly easy language. You have 2 written languages. You have a ton of dialects. you have 18 distinct vowels, and that doesn't even include like the vowel combinations. Okay, so you have difficult pronunciation, and you also have shy and very, very friendly and helpful people who are excellent at speaking English. So to me, that is actually the reason why I love Norwegian. I love the diversity of the language. I love the fact that there are so many varieties. I love the history of how the Norwegian language developed. And I love the people. I love that they are quiet and friendly, reliable, helpful. To me, as a shy person myself, I really feel at home here. So yeah, for me, all those reasons why Norwegian is difficult, it makes the language the more interesting for me. And I also especially am very fond of nynorsk, which I chose as my hovedmål. So, do you still want to learn Norwegian? That's my question. If yes, let me help you. Write me a message. I will have the QR code here for my contact form on my webpage. Feel free to reach out to me, and maybe I can help you with learning Norwegian. Ha det bra, vi snakkes snart i en ny video.